Good evening from Bangkok. It's Sunday, July 11th. Welcome to the ThaiFight News Muay Thai Weekend Review, where we'll talk about all of the top stories here in Thailand for the past week. And of course, we'll cover some international events as well. The biggest story last Saturday, I guess on July 3rd, was Julio Lobo from Phuket Fight Club capturing the Omnoi Stadium Welterweight Championship. He became only the third foreigner in the history of the stadium to capture an Omnoi belt. The former two other guys who have done that in the past are Youssef Boughanem and Amir Nasiri. Lobo, 3 days before the fight, was it was a hotly anticipated rematch with Pontek or Kwan Muang. Pontek was forced to pull out of the event, out of the fight, 3 days before it. He had the vaccine for the coronavirus earlier in the week, and whether it's connected or not, he got sick a couple of days after that and he had to pull out of the fight. So Rambo Petchyindee stepped in on 2.5 days notice. Rambo is the current lightweight champion of Rajadamnern, but whenever Rajadamnern opens again, Rambo will never fight at lightweight again. Rambo took the fight on 2.5 days notice, but he was never really in the fight. Lobo and Leo Elias executed a fantastic game plan. Rambo was on the back foot the whole time. Lobo made history, first ever Brazilian, first ever fighter from the Americas, took home a unanimous points decision. Judge 1 was 49-48, Judge 2 and 3, 49-47. Clear win for Lobo. And it was fantastic to see during the week. Just on a side note, of course, Numnoi from Singpatong Gym is the manager of Lobo. He arranges all the fights for Lobo and Kajaiba on the elite fight circuit in Bangkok. And it was great to see Leo and Lobo pay a courtesy visit to Numnoi at his gym in Phuket during the week to show him the beautiful new belt from Omnoi Stadium. On a second note from that same event, the one to watch for ThaiFight News is Noelisson from Phuket Fight Club. He fights at featherweight, an absolute hungry little monster. This guy is going to be a star. He's a star in the making. If they can get him the right fights and keep the hunger and the maturity with him, he's going to be a superstar. He was fighting at Rajadamnern. He had a couple of fights at Raja before the coronavirus really hit Thailand, and the promoters at Rajadamnern were really liking the maturity and the aggression and the balance he was showing. So he's one to watch in the coming months and coming years. Noelisson, of course, out of Phuket Fight Club. Last Sunday was ThaiFight. Now, ThaiFight returned even in the middle of the pandemic, and they were able to hold their event at the JF Boxing Stadium, which is in Pattaya, about 5 minutes from Pattaya Beach on Second Road. I've been to that stadium once before when we did the All-Star fight down there. It was an interesting show. We had a couple of, one-sided affairs as per usual, which is ThaiFight. But ThaiFight is entertainment. But it got down to business in the tournaments. There was 3 tournaments for the males. There was the middleweight, there was the welterweight, and super welterweight. And the big winners in the tournaments were definitely Alessandro Sara, who progressed to the welterweight final, and he'll face a daunting task of fighting Konklai. Of course, he won by a knockout. In the Kitty, Sorjor Danreong will face off against Brazil's Thiago Teixeira in the final of the super welterweight tournament. Both of those guys had early victories and then the middleweight final will be an interesting one. You've got the Tengnong who will be in the final, of course, and he'll face off against Spanish fighter Nicolas Mendez. And Nicolas had a close call against American fighter Paul Banisiak. And it was quite an entertaining fight. Youssef made his debut on the event. As expected, it was an early victory for Youssef. Youssef had a 1-fight deal with ThaiFight. It'll be interesting to see what comes next for Youssef. He was just glad to get back in the ring. He's had a strange 18 months since he won the WBC Super Welterweight World title in Phuket last year when he beat Satanfa Ratchanan. Of course, Satanfa now is with Sitsang Pinang. And if we moved into the female tournament, I got to talk about that. That was, of course, the favourite, Petchyindee. I mean, she's going to be so difficult to beat, but it was quite interesting in the second semi-final. Well, it was actually the first semi-final of the night. Argentinian fighter Daniela Lopez, who I believe is based out of FA Group in Bangkok, She defeated Thailand's Rungnapa Por Muang Pet in the semi-final, and now she faces off against Petchyindee in the final. Of course, Petchyindee beat French fighter Cindy Sylvestre in her semi-final. Let's move on to during the week. We had an interesting, almost like a soap opera show with, I'm not going to say too much about it, but as we know, during the week, Rittewada signed to fight out of Petchyindee gym, and a well-publicized signing for One Championship. A lot of people expected it. And then the whole situation turned a bit strange later on during the week when Kia Pet Promotions released a public statement saying that Rittewada had a contract with a Chinese promotion, and that contract lasts until 2022. So let's see what happens with that. I hope they can work it all out. Easier said than done, but I sincerely hope they can do that and make it good for everyone. Moving to Youssef Boughanem. Youssef was scheduled to defend his WBC middleweight world title against English fighter Liam Nolan on July 17th. Now, unfortunately, with the travel restrictions between the UK and UK and Belgium, Liam had to pull out. So with a week's notice, they got a replacement fighter, and a very good replacement fighter, Danish fighter Nicholas Larsson. So Youssef will still defend his belt, and there'll be an interesting fight on July 17th in Brussels. Let's turn our attention to Lumpinee Stadium. It's been quite the rejuvenation for the stadium. Let's go back to 6 months ago when, there was all those fake stories about, and yes, they were fake stories. I can 100%. I mean, I don't want to be critical of people, but a lot of people read certain stories saying the stadium was never closing. That was never said by anyone officially at the stadium. It was taken out of context, and then certain international Muay Thai media outlets proclaimed to have breaking news that the stadium was closing. Anyways, it never closed. It was never closing, and a new group have taken over the day-to-day running. Go Sport. Now they'll be working in collaboration with the top brass of the stadium, and they have spent right now upwards of, first of all, it was 10 million, but now they're actually gone over the 20 million baht mark. The stadium looks amazing. I know that a lot of the traditionalists will say it's been destroyed. We all know what happened almost a decade ago when the stadium moved. It moved. We can't do anything about it. We all had some great nights there. Me as a fan, other guys who had fought there. It was incredible. The old stadium was historic, and just to be there was an amazing experience. But it moved, and there's nothing we can do about it. And they have upgraded it. It's into the 22nd century now. It's going to be a game changer whenever they can reopen it. And again, they're going to allow the female fighters to compete there, which I think is a great move. A lot of guys, some people, well, not a lot, some people were against it. I saw some comments on some of the social media posts from SukJaoMuaythai News. People, go back to your Stone Age, man. Go back to your prehistoric times, man. Your archaic mindset. This is going to be good for the sport of Muay Thai to allow the females to fight at Lumpinee. And I can't wait till history is made when the all-Thai affair between Buakaw and Sanajan, they become the first females to fight there. And it's great that it's two Thai females, not taking anything away from the foreign female fighters, but for this historic occasion. And of course, it's going to be a unification fight, the Lumpinee Mini Flyweight Championship and the WBC MuayThai World Flyweight Championship. And that's going to be a fantastic event. And let's all hope and pray it happens soon. Of course, Thailand has just announced that we're gone into a 2-week lockdown starting tomorrow from the 12th. So I can't imagine that show happening before the end of July, probably August. Speaking of promotions in Thailand, it was an interesting week. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for the team at Petchyindee Promotions. First of all, Petchyindee are fantastic people. I work with them for many different facades, for boxing, for Muay Thai, for the organisation that I work for outside of SukJaoMuaythai News. And they're great people. They're great to work with. And they really, really have their hearts into the sport of Muay Thai, in the sense of what they've been trying to do the last few weeks to get the industry moving again has been quite admirable. And to cut a long story short, they were shut down from 2 Thursdays ago from hosting their events at Rangsit, which is their home. Now, Rangsit Stadium is not in Bangkok. It's on the outskirts of Bangkok in Pathum Thani province, just outside the city. And literally 24 hours before, on the Wednesday morning, 36 hours before, whatever you want to be pedantic about that, they were told by the office of the governor of Pathum Thani that they were not allowed to host their events. Okay, great. That was fine. I don't mean, I'm not using the word great, but in the sense that, okay, they went to plan B. So they visited a couple of sites in other provinces, and they settled on a site in Kanchanaburi province, a couple of hours west of Bangkok. And everything was agreed. They got authority and everything from regional authorities, move ahead. Literally on the Wednesday, the day before, they got shut down again. This was this week. And they were told no. This time it went to governmental figures in terms of the National Broadcasting Commission. They were told, and True For You, which is their broadcast partner, that you have no permission to broadcast the event. And due to their sponsorship deal with True For You, which is owned by CP, and CP are the big benefactors of Petchyindee, supporting their events, without the TV broadcast, the event couldn't go ahead for financial reasons. So Petchyindee are back to square one again, and they'll bounce back. They're more resilient than most of us even know or can imagine. Going to turn our attention now to the international fight scene. Last Saturday in Barcelona, Golden League Promotions had their event, and just on the outskirts of Barcelona, and there was 6 WBC Muay Thai title fights on the event. And of course the biggest one was the most anticipated one was the fight between England's George Jarvis, who's kind of the rising star of the middleweights in the UK, against Muhsin Shafi from Spain. And I was quite surprised, and I watched the fight. I was quite surprised. Maybe it was the COVID effect. I'm not taking anything away from Muhsin. He's a fantastic fighter, but George Jarvis, unfortunately, for whatever reason, didn't show up. But Muhsin was the worthy winner, took home a unanimous points decision, and he captured the WBC European Middleweight Championship. On the same event, Spain's Isaac Area, he defeated England's Reece Thompson, another. Isaac is a monster, and I expected Reece to show up, and he did, but he was just outgunned and outflanked by Isaac. He won the WBC Lightweight International Championship. And just yesterday in France, of course, Muay Thai superstar Rafi Bohic was back in action. He fought as the main event on Fabio's event in Dardilly in France. And Rafi took home a unanimous points decision over Pascal Amoroso from Italy. And it was good to see Rafi back in action, and all going well, I believe there's a huge fight for Rafi coming up at the end of the year between another big superstar. So let's keep our eyes open for that one. And turning our attention to Canada, last weekend, Kieran Kettle, one of the most well-travelled Muay Thai ex-world champions and fighters and promoters, he's now based in Canada, and he started his promotion there called MuayThai World Cup. And it's been a fantastic rejuvenation for the sport of Muay Thai in Canada. Basically, he's turned the sport from no one having any interest in it, in terms of, apart from a few aficionados over the year, not taking away anything from the guys who were organising events over the last decade or two. But Kieran has, as we all know, brings success wherever he goes. And the Muay Thai World Cup was back last Saturday with an interesting concept of drive-in Muay Thai. And they had 2 WBC Muay Thai Canadian championships on the event. And the big boys, Battle of the Big Boys, a cruiserweight, Mark McKinnon, in a shock of an upset, took away the title off the reigning champion Tim Lowe. Mark is another guy to watch. I think he could be a huge name in coming times. Okay, that's it. That's the weekend review. We'll be back next Sunday for the next weekend review, Sunday, July 18th. Obviously, there won't be much to report on from Thailand next week. There's very little to talk about next week in terms of action in Thailand, but hopefully there'll be stuff to talk about around the world. All right, thank you very much.